All right, so episodes 26 and 27 of Kamen Rider Zeztz. Here we go. Um, yeah, lots of exciting stuff in these two episodes, mainly 27. But yeah, so 26 is basically mostly a clip show type setup. But there is still stuff going on in it, so it's not a conventional clip show. I was figuring that they were going to have um, why am I forgetting his name? Baku. I figured that we were going to have him go or explain everything to everyone off screen, but that's not what happened. Instead, he and Nem go to an abandoned in the dream world, an abandoned theater, and uh, he uses a projection system to um, talk about what he saw in his dreams, and he or his premonition dream and the dreams within the dream. Um, so yeah, so he starts explaining things in a sort of Cliff Notes thing where he only explains the more important things around what happened, mainly in terms of his mission, what code is, uh, Otaka, and how he became Nox, and how or who he was before he became Nox and everything. He also establishes the lady being Nem's mom and everything, and her wanting to bring down code because of everything. He also establishes that now that he's awake, he is also remembering things that were just shown to the audience for like plot and character development of the various characters involved in the show and everything up until that point. And I guess that's a way to explain how he could know things that he was not actually around for in his dream and were just there for the audience. Because if you think about it retroactively, it's just like, yeah, that's really the only way that makes any sense. That like he would know stuff that was just presented to the audience and wasn't for him and everything that he wasn't aware of in his dream, but now that he's awake, everything's coming back to him and everything, which is funny because that's the opposite of how most dreams work, unless if they are very like uh, powerful or whatever, or stick in your memory. When you wake up, most dreams that you have that you are seeing as your mind is waking up, um, or as your brain is waking up, you generally will forget about them pretty quickly after you wake up if you don't like try to memorize what happened in the dream or write it down or whatever. Um, so yeah, unless if something really really sticks out to you. So you have that kind of stuff. It's just interesting that that's how that type of shit works. And then on top of that, um, I don't know if this was established in a previous episode, but the lady sees stuff that's happening somehow through Nem. I assume there's some sort of maybe psychic connection or something there. Um, so yeah, because she is seeming to peer into the dream world through Nem. It seems, at the very least, that's as far as I can figure, because that's really the only thing I can. Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of as to why she reacts the way that she does to certain things. So yeah. So as he's doing that, or as Baku is doing that, we see Nox come in. He's one level above them, and I believe he sits down in one of the seats as Baku is starting to explain stuff. Then as Baku is, or maybe he doesn't sit down, but he is up there and he's standing up, and Baku knows that he's up there, whether or not he heard him or he could just maybe sense his presence or something. He looks up at him at one point when he gets to talking about, well, Otaka and everything. And he even starts addressing him as Otaka rather than Nox. Um, so yeah, and it's actually very interesting to think about what might be going through Nox's head as he's reacting to the information Baku's presenting them all with. And it honestly just makes sense that Baku isn't really none too plussed about or maybe not nonplussed, but just isn't really phased about Nox being there because he wants Nox to know this information as well. Um, and I do feel like there's a little bit of information that um, Baku maybe accidentally left out that like he would know because he woke up that the lady wasn't really mournful of Nox's death, and she was kind of using Nox for her own gains and everything. I think that that would be something he would want to tell her or tell him about because it would make him rethink his allegiance to the lady and everything. That she's not too much better than Code and everything, considering that like she didn't really seem to give too much of a shit. She thanked Nox for his service to her, but she didn't really mourn him or feel that bad that he died realistically, because in her mind, I believe it was just something that uh, that was like another link in the chain to happen. So yeah, hopefully in a future episode we see that because he doesn't do it in 27 either, because there's other things going on. So yeah, so while Baku is doing that, we see 0 and 3 recruit. Actually, no, mainly just 0. I think no, actually no, 0 and 3. They recruit or they have 5 and 6 come in and give them their orders to track down Baku. Although he just says that it's agent or code number 7 and everything. And yeah, 3 or I think 3 is actually the one presenting them with the mission. But either way, 3 says, dead or alive, it doesn't really matter. Make sure you bring back the Zeztz driver, because well, without that, Baku's kind of powerless, especially outside of his dreams. But yeah, so they actually sit down and like go to sleep and go into the dream world and slowly track down where Baku is through their phones. I'm assuming there's some sort of like GPS tracking software in the phone that Baku has. It's either that or the Zeztz driver, and it just makes sense the way that they can track him down and everything. So yeah, so we see Baku explain that Kureha and 5 died and everything, and Nazca is visibly shaken up and everything. When he also talks about how he killed Otaka in his premonition, we see Fujimi start to freak out and like want to arrest Baku again. But Kureha, I believe, it's either her or Minami, but I think it's Kureha, reminds him that it only happened in his dream, not in real life. And he's just like, oh yeah. Something I like about that's kind of subtle with the physical comedy of the scene too. It starts with Fujimi freaking out and shaking Baku, real life Baku who's asleep, just so, or in his anger and everything. Which honestly, this part just kind of makes him look like an idiot, which he kind of is an idiot, but at the same time, it's like, I would think that he's a little bit smarter than this to think that Baku saying he killed Otaka was, like, that it actually happened. But no, because, like, they're being told stuff under the assumption that it all happened in his premonition dream. So, I don't know. I don't know. But as Nazca gets him away from Baku, something that I actually do find funny about that, because it's not over the top or anything, it's just very subtle, is when Minami catches Baku's head, she gently just, what is the word I'm looking for? Just like gingerly, there we go. Gently and gingerly just puts his head back down on the table in front of him, and or maybe it's a desk. Yeah, I think it's a desk in front of him where it was, and I like that. That's like a pretty good subtle comedy right there. It's good like physical comedy, because it's just like after you get like the violent shaking of Baku's body, just that is really hilarious. I have to imagine that like in between takes of that, they were probably cracking up at maybe the dailies that they were seeing or like the rewinds of the takes that they just did. And I also can't imagine that it. I can't imagine Baku's actor like wouldn't have cracked up at least for the first couple of takes of that particular instance because I'll give it to him. Like he genuinely looked like he was asleep. So yeah, he just kept his eyes closed, he kept his mouth still, and he just let his body go limp. Like I'll give it to him. That's pretty good physical like acting right there. Um, so yeah, to just keep within that, I honestly can't imagine that they didn't crack that the actors didn't crack up again like after they were done filming certain or filming like takes of that, and I can't imagine it didn't not take multiple takes to do it. So yeah. So then Kureha and Five eventually get there. Kureha holds her gun weapon towards Baku and Nem, and Five. I think he holds his. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think he also has a gun weapon, and he holds Nox at gunpoint, and they weren't there to see everything. They got there just as Baku was finishing or wrapping up telling the story of what happened, and yeah. So then Kureha shoots Baku and Nem, but it turns out just holograms. And Baku predicted that they would show up at some point. So yeah, so he created the holograms of them. So then Kureha and Baku get out the Night Invoker and Zeztz Driver and transform into their Kamen Rider forms. And yeah, I'm just calling the Night forms Kamen Rider forms because that's basically what they are. They're very similar to Zetz's suit and even Otaka's suit. So yeah, it just makes sense to call them that. Because that, and they have basically the same powers and everything in the same power source. That's basically what they are. So yeah, he goes his plasma form and quickly tries to get the upper hand on Kureha, who he almost does. He's pretty fast, but she is able to intercept his stuff at the last moment. So they basically not are not evenly matched, but in terms of power, but she is able to keep up with him for the most part. Meanwhile, we have Five trying to kill Nox, or at the very least just subdue him. And one cool thing in that, and something that I was seeing in the chat when this episode went live on Tokusatsu was the fact that Five's weapon has portal technology, and I mean the video game Portal, where he literally just opens up a like tear and everything, two tears actually, and he shoots into one of them and it comes out the other way behind Otaka, and it's really it was really cool. I like that. So yeah, so they're all fighting for a little bit, but then they get interrupted because I think what happens is they all go to, or they get transported to the looks like the inside of a skyscraper, like a skyscraper being built, place that was in one of the previous episodes that were 5 and 6 in the dream were fighting Nox. I think that wasn't that episode like 23? I think it was. So yeah, around there. So yeah, and they get interrupted by a new guy, and that's where the episode ends. And then we get into episode 27, where we pick up from the last one, and we get this guy who we don't know yet, played by one second. What the hell? Kosei Amano, who Kamen Rider fans will know, and I had to look this up. He played two different, actually, I think three different characters, maybe a few more, in Kamen Rider before. Previously, in Kamen Rider Blade, he was Kamen Rider Garen. Is that how you pronounce it? Gyaren? Yeah, Kamen Rider Gyaren. And yeah, plus Kohei Hayami in Kamen Rider Forze and everything. Plus a few more roles here and there, I believe, in those shows. He was also in Osamu Sentai King Oger, funnily enough. And I didn't know this before I looked up her actress, but Kureha's actress actually played one of the characters in King Oger as well. She played Rita Kaniska, aka trying to Papillon Oger. Papillon? Whatever. The Purple Ranger of the King Ogers. Very interesting that they have these actors coming into Kamen Rider and everything. I just like that. I have not seen King Oger outside of some clips here and there, so yeah, and it's funny me being more of a Sentai fan than Kamen Rider. But yeah, I just haven't kept up with current Kamen Rider outside, or not current Sentai outside of Gokaiger stuff. I'm not gonna lie. The most recent Sentai stuff I've seen is the stuff with Gokaiger, mainly the 10th anniversary Gokaiger movie. So yeah, and I do want to watch the Gojujir movie that's coming out when that comes out on Blu-ray in Japan, and then people can get the Blu-ray rips and subtitle it for international fans and everything. Specifically because Captain Marvelous is in it, and I did meet Ryo Taozawa, Marvelous's actor, at Power Morphicon 2 years ago, and he came off as a nice guy. Just gonna say it, and I think he honestly loves interacting with the fan base of Sentai and Power Rangers, and he's all for being part of that experience and everything, and that I think is really cool. So yeah, just to say that real quick. So yeah, so picking up where we left off from the last episode, this guy who his suit literally just looks like it's an evil perversion of the suit that Terra from Kingdom Hearts wears when he uses his armor form and everything. Genuinely, and I'm not the first person to say this. At the very least, it's its helmet, because he has the pointed ear things that are kind of like Batman's in certain iterations of the character, or certain suits for the character, standing up and everything, very tall above his head and everything. The only thing I think he's missing is a cape to complete it. Genuinely, if you recolor the suit more earthy colors like Terra's, which makes sense because Terra means earth, you would have a pretty good match for the armor Terra wears in Kingdom Hearts. But yeah, and considering a lot of people have drawn comparisons between the suits Terra, Aqua, and Ventus wear in Kingdom Hearts to Kamen Rider suits, kind of makes it come full circle. So yeah. So this guy, he uses his sword to bring some pretty powerful slashes towards the group. They mostly avoid everything for a few seconds, but then he slashes Kureha pretty good. He gets Five's arm pretty good, and then he slashes Baku so hard it knocks him out of the dream, and we also see that it knocks Five and Kureha out of the dream as well. So yeah, and Baku is still hurt outside of the dream, to the point where you can kind of see him bleeding a little bit on his lip. It's very subtle, but it is there. And on top of that, he's really, really winded and everything. He's breathing really hard, and it's clear that he still feels some of the pain coming out of the dream. So yeah, especially since he got thrown part way across the room behind him. So yeah. So they ask who that guy was. He said, I don't know. Fujimi wants to know if that was a nightmare, but Baku says, no, it's just someone I've never seen before. And so a little bit of comedic bits here and there in this episode. Baku gets out a Japanese to English dictionary that he has in his headquarters and looks up a sentence, unmask the enemy, which he pronounces it as unmask the enemy because of Japanese accents and how they render English words when pronouncing the English words without like extra syllables or whatever. And funnily enough, Nazca and Minami correct him on the pronunciation of the, where they say the enemy or the enemy, and Fujimi tries to like make it a little bit better by pronouncing it the way that Baku did, but he backs down and he barely even says it in the first place. So yeah, just kind of funny. I do like that little bit of comedy there. So we get back to this guy in the dream world, and he has a ton of nightmares locked up in cages in his place where he's holed up. And it turns out that or at least some of them are the nightmares from the dreams that Baku had and visited in his premonition. Not sure how that makes any sense, but yeah, there you go. And somehow he knows about Baku's premonition. He's aware of everything that happened in it, and yeah. But as we see, the nightmares themselves don't know anything about Zeztz. So these are the nightmares from reality as opposed to Baku's premonition dream. Interesting dichotomy kind of there. So yeah, and he starts fighting them in kind of like a battle royale kind of setting. He pits two of them against each other, two of the early ones, I believe, against each other. And yeah, so Baku sets up cameras all over the place. Meanwhile, I think this actually happens first in terms of like the which direction the episode goes. So we see Kureha is being patched up by doctors at Code HQ. Well, 5, we see that his arm is being kept in a sling like it was broken. And yeah, so obviously Kureha's in bad shape. 5 is pissed off and everything, but he tells 3 that they couldn't, or that they didn't beat 7 and everything, and tells him about the guy who showed up. And 3 basically just shows that he doesn't give too much of a shit about 5 and 6's injuries, which I'm hoping that leads to something more in the future and everything. To which 5 is pissed off at, but yeah. But 3 obviously doesn't give them too much shit for what's going on because of the fact that the guy showed up and everything. And so he goes to 0 and says that they can't really do anything. Basically just says that they can't really do anything towards 7 as long as that guy is there. 0 agrees, and he ends up calling Baku through the phone that Baku has for code and everything. He tells Baku that the guy's name is Sieg. Well, they pronounce it Zieg, like, or Zig. But yeah. But he doesn't offer anything else unless if Baku agrees to a truce between them, between him and Code, because he says that without backup from Code, Baku won't be able to properly deal with the guy. But Baku knows that those words are hollow since he knows that they abandoned Otaka anyways. And and so he can't really trust that they'll have his back when when push comes to shove. So yeah, so he declines the truce and he hangs up. So yeah, so then he tries to. Right, so then Baku tries to pull out a new capsum, but unfortunately he can only pull out the ones that, or pull out new versions of the ones that he already has. But he finds out that if he puts two of the same ones next to each other in the little capsum case holder things that he has, that it the second one powers the first one up and doubles its power, which is interesting. That doesn't really come into play in this episode, but it probably will in the future, and we'll see how it does. I can't imagine that they're seeding that idea and won't do anything with it in a future episode. So yeah, right. Baku also, before the call, I believe, puts a bunch of the sensor cameras all over their apartment building, so that he can make sure that Code won't try to do any sneak attacks, and also tries to get Minami to move out of their apartment for a little while, basically just trying to make sure that she's okay. But she refuses, and yeah. So then he tells her about what he's going to do, and he says that Otaka needs, or maybe he says Nox, but the other way, Otaka needs his power, meaning the recovery capsum, and he intends to go and help him out, and give it to him and everything, so that they can come to an understanding and everything. So yeah, so then he goes to sleep, goes back into the dream world. Meanwhile, Minami calls up her job and asks if she can take basically just time off from it. The subtitlers translated it as furlough, which just basically means time off and everything. And yeah, because her reasoning for staying there is because she says to him, you're invincible as Zeztz in the dream world, but in the real world, when you're asleep, you're vulnerable. What if they try to break in and do something while you're asleep? Yeah, because yeah, his body's basically useless when he's asleep. So yeah, so he goes back into the dream world. He meets up with Nem, who asks him why she's dressed, if she's dressed the way that she is, are they gonna do something? And he's just like, yeah, I've got to meet with Otaka. And so they go into Otaka's dream, and he tries to hand Otaka the capsum. Otaka holds it, but then tries to give it back. But then, because I don't necessarily know if he knows exactly what the capsum is, but I'm assuming that that's the implication that he does. So then Baku says that they'll make a trade. He just lets him keep the capsum, but if he tells him who Zieg is, or Sieg, he'll free him from the dream he's having. So he uses his plasma capsum to reveal the nightmare, which I forgot to say earlier. After we see the initial scene with the nightmares fighting, Sieg comes in and fights one of them, but then the two of them keep fighting until the one that shows up later in Otaka's dream defeats the one, and Sieg just lets him go. So yeah, then he puts the other one in chains and uses his sword to kill it. So yeah. So Baku reveals the nightmare transforms into his plasma form and starts fighting it. But who shows up? Then Zeztz. So yeah. So Baku tries to fight him and the Nightmare both at once, but that's not really doing him any good. And he uses his booster capsule for the first time in about 12 episodes, apparently. 12, 13 episodes. So, yeah, that bus came back. Referencing TV tropes, obviously. And, yeah. He gets powered up and tries to distract Zeztz with some lightning attacks. But Zeztz is too quick, similar to Kureha and everything. And he ultimately stops Baku from using the final strike rider kick thing to kill the Nightmare by using his sword as a lightning rod to intercept the attack. So, yeah. So then Scsigs ends up killing the Nightmare, but that doesn't free anyone from the dream. Instead, he intercepts the bad dream and gives them a real bad dream because living out or having the same dream twice is boring, or having the same dreams is boring. So yeah, he transports them to a new dream that it basically kind of looks like Mad Max in a way. If it was in Japan, Mad Max maybe mixed with The Last of Us, set in Japan, and a bunch of crazy people come up on them, and Nem also gets put in a different outfit to match the world. And yeah, they're surrounded by jeeps with these crazy people in them that genuinely look like they come from a Mad Max world, like I said. And that's where the episode ends. We also see, though, I think it's earlier on in the episode, the lady says to Nem in her sleep that she should stay away from Scsigs and everything. So yeah, so that's where the episode ends, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go in the next episode. I honestly enjoyed both these episodes. I enjoyed 26 more, honestly. I don't know why. 26 is a clip show, but at the same time, I just like I like seeing the reactions to the characters that we've been following for this long, but their memories got reset because none of it was real for the first 24 episodes. And after Baku gets hit by the car in the first episode, and we just get reactions of people who do not know their future and everything. And only one person does. So, yeah, and also seeing Knox being told this information and everything. Just the facial acting with his actor is actually pretty good. And seeing this earlier version of Knox be told that Baku knows everything about code, that he was very, very damn fucking, what is the word? Vague about. It's just very interesting. And I very much doubt that Knox really predicted this stuff. It's also carrying on from episode 25, where we see Knox be intrigued at what's going on with Baku and why he has more power and seems to know more about everything. So yeah, then we get more of Kureha and Five, and I very much hope that we see them come around on Baku, even if there's like a temporary truce between them. I think that would just be better than having them be mindless drones for code and everything. It'll also be interesting to see what code may do to try and help out Baku, while also trying to maybe subdue him. I can see if they do it from this angle, that they have the writers have code come in, or code do something where they have they have the shit, or they have maybe a couple more agents come in while 5 and 6 are recovering, and just instill the truce anyways until Sieg is taken care of. Also, very interesting that they brought in a Breder and Kamen Rider actor to play Sieg, and yeah, the fact that he also has like a kind of short kind of haircut. I'm trying to think of like how to like or what to compare his haircut to. But it's kind of like David Tennant's hair when he played the 10th Doctor a bit in Doctor Who, but dyed like bleach blonde. Very interesting. I was also kind of expecting the character maybe to have black hair, maybe the same haircut, but black hair in real life. But yeah. Also, forgot to mention this. They say he is someone who was created by Code Somnia, which, if you remember from I think episode 25, the last time I did a podcast, they want to put Baku in Code Somnia. We don't necessarily know what Code Somnia is, though we can probably guess because Somnia is Latin for sleep. They want to put him in like maybe some kind of forever sleep, if not just directly kill him. So yeah, so something like that happened to Sieg, and yeah, no idea how this guy would have gotten his Kamen Rider powers though. Um, so yeah, and I think this guy Kamen Rider Dawn. There we go. That's the name of the guy. I have to wonder if he was also an ex code agent or something, because that's the only thing I can really think of that happened here. So yeah, but we will see as future episodes come about. I really do like how they're treating like the lightning speed of plasma, and I also like that they're not having Baku just endlessly rely on his Catastrom form for everything. But at the same time, it's his most powerful form, so he's going to have to use it at some point. So yeah. Um it's intriguing how they're going about this, and I can't wait to see more. So yeah. So guys, I don't really have much else to say here. Recommend watching these episodes wherever you can. So yeah, try legally. See if they're available on YouTube or a streaming service where you are. But yeah, like I'm to the point where I watch these episodes every week as they come out. Whereas previously I was for the first like what 23, 24, I was watching the episodes every 2 weeks because I feel like that's more gratifying. But here I feel like they're finally getting into a groove where even though the episodes are still kind of two-part stories, they are getting more episodic with it, where you can just watch an episode and be satisfied with what's going on in the plot and wait another week and be satisfied with that. I think that that's smart. I think that the way that they're doing it is pretty smart, where each episode is a link in the chain as opposed to every 2 episodes being a link in the chain. I think that that's better for that. Not to say the two-part stories weren't fine. It's just that I do appreciate a different story or a different chunk of the story being told as opposed to one chunk of the story being told over 2 parts. I like a chunk being told over an episode. So yeah, especially if a show is serialized anyways, it just makes sense to me. But yeah. So yeah, guys, I don't really have much else to say. So links in the description, all my shit. Subscribe if you want, and I'll see you guys in the next one.